So we switched to a DOM supporting environment, and that's an important first step, but it's not all we have to do. Now the document is available, but you have to keep in mind that your tests still don't execute in the context of this HTML file that belongs to this project. That would be the file which you load in a browser, but we have no browser here. We didn't load any page. Instead, we now just have some DOM and browser-specific APIs available, but at no point did we load this HTML file when we started executing our tests. Now, we need this to be in our DOM for this code to work, though. And therefore, now we need to do some initialization, some test-specific setup work that ensures that we can execute our test code the way we want. And to be precise, what I want to do is I want to open this HTML file and load it into this virtually emulated DOM, which is provided by JSDOM or HappyDOM, so that when we then use the document object, we do interact with a virtual DOM that has all these elements here loaded into it. And to do that, here in dom.test.js, I will import fs from fs, so the file system module from Node.js, and I will import path from path so that I can open a file and load a file's content, because I want to open and load the index.html file. Now you might be wondering why fs and path are available when we switched to the DOM supporting environment, but it's important to understand that you still have all these Node APIs available inside of your test files. So you can still use all that Node.js code in your test files because the DOM is only emulated virtually. It's still not really running in a browser, it's just emulated. So we can import these parts here, and then we can get our HTML doc path for HTML document path by using path join. And then we can get the current working directory with process current working directory. So that will be the overall project directory. And then there I want to load the index.html file, which is directly in the root project folder. And then the HTML document content, which is inside of that HTML file, can be loaded with fs read file sync to basically halt code execution until the file has been read. And then I pass my doc path as an argument here, and I convert the result to a string so that we basically read the content of this file as a string, and we can then use it to load it into this virtually emulated DOM. And this loading into the DOM is then done by, first of all, importing window from HappyDOM here in vtest. Then we can create a window object by instantiating window. And this now basically creates an emulated browser, so to say, but a browser with a page loaded that we can configure. And we can then get the document by accessing window.document. This is now all provided by HappyDOM. And I'm doing this because on that document, I can now call the write method to write this HTML document content, which we loaded from the HTML file, into this virtual document, so into this emulated browser. And this in the end now renders this page virtually. And with that, we now did set up our document. As a last step, I'll now use the v object, which is imported from vtest, to stub the document globally with my adjusted document, so that the document will still be available in all this code, but it will now be the document provided by HappyDOM with our content written into it. So it's the document object with all its methods and so on. That didn't change. But in addition, it did render our HTML content into this virtual browser. So now the document available in the code that is executed by our tests will have access to this HTML code, which was rendered into this virtual document. That's the idea behind these lines of code here. Well, and with that now, if we now run this all again, it succeeds and we got no failures anymore. And of course, we also got no real test here, but having no failures means that we did successfully interact with this virtual document and with this virtual DOM. And that's another major step forward. Now let's get started writing some real tests.